Welcome to today's session on call quality management for Skype for Business Online and Skype and Microsoft Teams. My name is William Looney, and I'll be presenting today with Troy Funk.
How's it going? I think we need a few more chairs. If someone in the back could find more chairs. I'm not sure that, I don't want anyone standing. That's not fair to people who paid good money to attend the conference.
So getting started, so call quality management we deliver in partnership with the IT admins and the network administrators who manage the infrastructure and the devices that Skype for Business and Microsoft Teams use, and we want to give you the call quality management tools that make your life easier for solving customer issues, identifying and troubleshooting issues, fighting systemic infrastructure issues. And that's kind of the focus of today's session on call quality management. So there are three key takeaways from today's session. First, that for Skype for Business Online and Microsoft Teams, you can use the same set of tools for managing call quality for both, and we'll talk about that in detail. The second point is for Skype for Business Online and Microsoft Teams, there are two primary tools that you'll be using. You have the call analytics, which lets you look at individual calls. It supports help desk style scenarios for troubleshooting a user's complaints. The second tool is Call Quality Dashboard. This is designed for proactive call quality management where you're looking at call quality issues and problems in aggregate and helping find issues affecting tens or hundreds or thousands of users at a time. And the third point to take away is that both of these tools need information from your network infrastructure. We need a mapping of your subnets to buildings or site information. This is what data we use to help identify whether customers or users are located inside their corporate network or outside, and we'll talk more about those in detail. Can I get a quick show of hands who in this room knows about CQD or uses CQD? Ooh, excellent, makes me happy. How many people know about call analytics? Okay, well, pretty close, all right, so good. So you guys, for people who are familiar with these tools, you'll learn about some of the new capabilities. And those of you who haven't seen these tools before, you will get to see and learn kind of what the capabilities and how we see these tools being used. So from an agenda perspective, we're going to talk about call quality management. Why does it matter? What's important? We're going to talk about the tools that we provide at Microsoft for this space. And then we're going to drill deeper into the call analytics and the call quality dashboard to give you insights and demos into how those products are used. And then we'll end up with some question and answer period at the end. So with this, I'm going to hand it over to Troy. He's going to talk about call quality management.
Thanks, William. What I really want to express to you today is that we get it. Call quality management is a core part of the product that we're offering with Skype for Business and Teams. When you choose Microsoft for your telephony solution, it's important that the end user experience, and that's core to any audio scenario, is of really high quality. And we don't expect you to make this decision and that trust blindly. So as part of our suite of tools, we have to provide you information as you are preparing to deploy and you roll out Skype for Business and Teams, metrics that you can use to drive your confidence that you're going to be able to provide and end users will have a high quality audio experience. This also has to be done and continuously improved on over time. And so we need to provide you metrics that you can use and view on a regular basis. We call that our proactive tooling. And so we'll talk a little bit today about some of those proactive measures that we believe that every one of us needs to be doing to have a successful Skype for Business deployment. But even when you do everything that we tell you to do, you follow all of our best practices, you look at the Skype operations framework, now part of Fast Track, and I'm sure all of you have done that, you do everything right, there's still going to be instances where the end user experience isn't what you want, where some things happen. And so we have to provide you reactive capabilities to take a look and answer that question, what happened, related to specific incidents and calls. Empowering you with those metrics allows you to respond, provide end user education, or in instances where there is an issue, resolve those. William?
Thank you, Troy. So for the call quality tools that we offer, they fall into three main categories. First are the tools that we offer for managing Skype for Business Online and Microsoft Teams. And we're going to spend time talking about each of these four tools in the later portion of the presentation. We also have the tools that we offer for Skype for Business on-premise. We have the monitoring server reports, and we have the call quality dashboard version 1.0. This was the first call quality dashboard that we produced, and we've since iterated and evolved that into the online offering. We have a next server vNext, Skype for Business server vNext has been announced that we'll be releasing that next year. And there will be updates to our tooling story for the on-premise as part of that release. But I don't have any details I'm going to be able to share today about exactly what that scope is or what that content will be in that vNext release. The third category of tools that we have are the tools provided by our IT Pro partners. So there's a series of companies who we work closely with who provide solutions for helping call quality management beyond what we provide at Microsoft. They provide help for Skype for Business Online, Skype for Business on-premise, as well as Microsoft Teams. If you're interested in learning more about those IT Pro tool partners, there's a breakout session up on the board, I don't remember the number, 3379, where you can find more detail about those. And all of our key partners have booths on the floor, so if you have specific issues or challenges that you say, Microsoft, maybe your tools aren't giving me exactly what I need or I have some special cases, our IT Pro tool partners are going to be a great resource for leveraging to help address those issues. So with these different tools that we're talking about in Skype for Business Online and Microsoft Teams, there's some questions about, well, okay, why do you have so many tools? What's their purpose? How do I know what to use for what purpose? And the way to look at it is each of those tools is serving a very specific need or role. If I have an issue with my CIO has a bad call and he needs support to figure out what went wrong with it, that's a scenario for a help desk style scenario, and that's targeted for our call analytics tool, where you can look up individual user calls, and Troy will show you more about that. Another example of a tool is the call quality dashboard. If I've got a question about, well, all my users in building 5 are having a problem. What's going on? Why are they all complaining? Or maybe I'm looking at it before they've started to complain, that I see data that's telling me that those users are having a poor experience. Can I get ahead of the problem? Can I use this data that we provide in the dashboards to drill down and help resolve the issue maybe before users start complaining? We also have a network assessment tool. This is a tool from a call quality management. This is more of a proactive step. Skype for Business has published some network performance targets, and this network assessment tool you can use if I'm standing up a new site. I'm standing up a site in Orlando, and I want to verify my connectivity to Microsoft's cloud is sufficient for running Skype for Business Online or Microsoft Teams. This is the tool to use. The fourth tool is our data access. Basically, providing access to the raw underlying data that we have for calls. And we'll talk more about each of these in the upcoming slides. Troy, tell us more about call analytics.
Call analytics. So, to talk about call analytics, I want to talk about my friend Mark. Mark's a nice guy most of the time. He looks friendly enough. But he just had a really awful Skype for Business meeting. In fact, it was so bad that Mark's frustration actually resulted in him calling his company's help desk and complaining. Now, when Mark calls the help desk, what do we expect, right? Does Mark expect to have a long conversation with the help desk personnel to be able to just tell him that they're going to open a ticket and he'll hear back in 2 to 3 weeks? No, Mark expects immediate response to his concerns. In fact, in many instances, Mark could actually benefit from immediate reaction to something that he can fix immediately, so his next meeting later that day is actually better. So call analytics is about empowering your help desk to be able to answer those questions in near real time in a way that you can actually have actionable responses to people who call. The last thing we want for you to have to deal with is the perception that Skype for Business isn't meeting your end users' needs. So real-time response is critical to addressing those concerns. How do we do that? What does that look like? Call analytics allows you to search for specific users and calls and meetings. We provide 30 days of an entire record. That information is accessible not 24 hours later, not 10 hours later, not an hour later, but within 15 minutes or less of that call concluding. So we have all of the information you need to resolve any issues people bring up right at your fingertips within 15 minutes of the call ending. Audio streams are classified the exact same way as CQD, so we have consistent methodology across our tooling. Call Analytics breaks this down in a way that enables Tier 1 help desk personnel to actually understand the various call components. Devices. What device people used? I don't think it's surprising to anyone that in some instances, your end users may not even realize that they're accidentally using their internal speaker and microphone. In some instances, we know that that's a challenge. You actually can see in Call Analytics exactly what audio device was used during that call. An easy remedy for Mark would be if he was using his internal speakers and microphone, which in some instances work great, but in others, the speaker and the microphone are not properly placed on that. Your mileage varies. So an immediate reaction to him calling the help desk could be that he goes and gets a supported microphone for his Skype and Teams meetings. We look at system. We know that in some instances, the client being used can be incredibly out of date. It's rare, but there are instances where it's actually important and critical that the client be updated. You actually can see what version of Skype for Business and Teams was used on the call. So if it is a really old build, you can immediately remediate by suggesting or providing guidance on how to upgrade Skype for Business and Teams on the client. Really huge, powerful. So Mark would actually get instructions right away. Actually, you need to update your client. Here's how to do that. Connectivity. I don't think it's surprising, but Skype for Business and Teams aren't magic. We can't solve for the fact that if you're driving your car and you're on a Teams meeting and you drive 300 feet below the earth in a skyscraper's parking garage and you lose connectivity, you're going to drop the call. So we provide this information so you can actually take those actions and respond. If Mark was sitting 300 feet from his wireless access point in his backyard and his Wi-Fi signal strength was absolutely terrible, you would be able to tell in Call Analytics, you would know which wireless network he was on, and you would be able to respond immediately to that. So he would get told, you need to actually, your Wi-Fi signal strength was very poor. Are you at home? You're at home. I think you need to get closer to your access point. You would handle that situation very differently than if he was in a wired connection on your corporate network and he still had network issues, which is the last point, is network issues. We provide a tremendous amount of information about the network, information that allows subject matter experts to immediately respond to those issues. William mentioned it before, the subnet mapping. It's absolutely critical. What subnet mapping does is, and you can see this is an example, a screenshot that I did where I was in Microsoft's Building 10 on the corporate campus. By mapping that physical location to the subnets, you can actually determine whether the end user was on their home network or on their corporate network, and then respond differently in the help desk for that. We also know that this information is incredibly sensitive information. You're talking about who met with whom, how long did they talk. There's all sorts of potential SCC issues with this. It's incredibly important that this be offered in a secure way, but your help desk need this information. So we've actually created a tiered system for permissioning. Very, very simple, so simple. You have a security group. In our console, you just add the security group to what tier you want to give access to. So for tier 1, they could search for users. So they could search for William, but they wouldn't be able to see who William was meeting with. They wouldn't have any names. We would obfuscate all of them as internal or external user. Phone numbers, same thing, all obfuscated. So that information is kept private, but you can still resolve those issues. You can still see the information that William needs to get his call issues resolved. We also hide the advanced and debug tabs, as that information is highly unlikely to be necessary for Tier 1. It's information that's designed for subject matter experts. Tier 2 access, we actually provide so that you can actually see all the information. So someone who is an expert, who is doing diagnostics, who does need that information, has it at their fingertips. And finally, tenant admins have that information as well as the ability to upload that subnet mapping and set permissions themselves. So this gives you the flexibility in your organizations to distribute access to this incredibly sensitive information, to not have to have everyone who's a subject matter expert be a tenant admin to access the system, and gives you the flexibility to easily change those permissions as you see fit. Let's take a look at a demo. So I have here, I wanted to provide you real stuff today. So this is really real, our dog food instance, our hot off the presses version of Skype for Business and Teams Admin Center with call analytics. It has live data, so we're going to look up myself as a user. It's fresh off the presses here. I'll just shrink that to make this a little bit easier. And you can see that we provide my title, my office location, a bunch of information about the user here. And then here are all of my meetings and calls. What we're announcing today is by the end of October, Microsoft Teams data will be available in preview inside of Call Analytics for all Skype for Business and Teams customers. We also will be generally available all of Call Analytics by the end of this year. You can see here we have this sorted by date, but I can actually sort by duration, client, or audio quality. I can also filter. We designate the calls poor or good. And we'll take a look at this call that William and I had over Teams earlier this morning. You could see that it didn't work out so well, William. It wasn't a great call.
Bad call.
It was a bad call. But William, to be fair, was not on a highly optimized network where they used the network assessment tool. I assume that on the expo floor they didn't do that. So.
No, in the back corner of the expo floor,
back
by
corner
the
of the
Skype for
expo
Business
floor.
and Teams booth, the Wi-Fi network is less than optimal.
Yeah, there's a lot of people here. So, but we can tell that the network information that we have provided, you could see that our average round trip was pretty rough and our average jitter was very bad. We've color-coded these to give you an indication on where we think the metrics are and what the thresholds can be. We take a look at William on his device. Let's take a look at his device itself. We see that he was using his default input. Well, that's interesting, William. But if I take a look at the system, I can actually see that he was using an ARM64. That's probably an iPhone, isn't it?
It is an iPhone.
Yeah, so in this model, I now have all sorts of information about this call. I know that the network was pretty rough. I know that the device he was actually using an internal speaker and microphone. I know that it was an iPhone. And I know that it was over Wi-Fi. Lots of information, but that enables your help desk to start drilling down and getting to solutions and answers for them. Let's take a look at another meeting I had. I just opened it to make sure I had it. This is a meeting. My engineering manager who's building this product, Maddie Cooper, was the one who this meeting was with. It was actually our regular stand-up meeting. Again, this is all live data. We can see the list of participants. We can see what modalities they were using, whether the audio was good or bad for each session. In some instances, you'll have a single user who has a poor experience, but that actually impacts the perceived quality of the entire call. We'll drill down onto myself here. So this is me connected to the Skype service. This was a Skype call. If this was a Teams call, it would indicate that it was a Teams connection here. We highlighted this network in yellow because there's some concerning metrics. That doesn't mean that it was a bad call at all. It just means that we don't know for sure that it was a good call. So what we've done is we've highlighted items that if the person perceived issues, that these are things that were a little bit outside of norms. Taking a look at connectivity, I can actually see my Wi-Fi signal strength. I could see I was over Wi-Fi. I even have the Wi-Fi driver version. If there's a concern in your corporate PC environment where there's a driver that needs to be upgraded, this again is another piece of information right at the fingertips of help desk personnel to address those issues. I was on my laptop. You could see what version of the Skype for Business client I was using. Really easy to see information. And don't tell anyone, but in this one specific instance, I used my internal speaker and microphones on my laptop. So typically I don't do that, but that again gives you the driver information and version. This is really great, but depending on who I'm talking to about call analytics, I'll get feedback. People will tell me, but wait a second, I want to see everything. And so for that instance, we actually provide this advanced view hidden for Tier 1 users. I'm obviously logged in as a Tier 2 user here, where we've provided side by side all of the information that we received on the call. Tons and tons of information that you can go dive through if you're an expert and you want to do that. And if I click this other tab, you'll see that suddenly my scroll bar gets really small. So you can actually see what base station they were using, tremendous amounts of config information. If you have UC subject matter experts on your staff, this tool gives them all of that information without having to go retrieve logs, without having to try to figure out what session to go grab. We've done all that work for you on behalf of you and put it into this graphical user interface. If you want to see diagnostic codes for the client, scroll up here. We actually have all of those. Well, I guess I don't have them in here, but we have all of that information also available in call analytics. So the entire tool, again, in preview right now. Teams data will be there at the end of October. Will generally available product at the end of this year. William?
Cool. Thank you, Troy. Wait, I hear an applause.
Yeah.
That's for you, Troy.
15 minutes, William.
15
it's all there
minutes.
in 15 minutes.
15 minutes, that's all it takes. Well, good job, Troy. You and the team have done a lot of work to make that call analytics happen. And in companionship with call analytics that's designed to look at your individual calls, we've had for a while a call quality dashboard that's designed for looking at calls in aggregate, where we're not so focused on an individual call, but we're looking at collections of calls or groups of users and identifying their issues or patterns in their quality or their reliability issues to derive actionable insights. So examples of the kind of questions that you would ask for or get answers from CQD are things like, hey, are my users at this particular location happy? What's my average call rating? You know, how are my users rating their call experiences? Skype for Business and Teams both let end users rate their call experience from 1 to 5. We expose those scores in Call Quality Dashboard that lets you see kind of how user sentiment is feeling. And then you can identify and slice that data by location to see maybe my users in the US are happy, but my users in Australia are unhappy. And that can be an indication of something that you need to take a look at. It's really good at looking at like infrastructure issues with routers, issues with wireless access points. These are the kind of infrastructure or systemic issues that Call Quality Dashboard is really focused on solving. So one of the key parts about the Call Quality Dashboard is it's a set of reports and views built on top of a data cube. So many people are familiar with data cubes. Raise of hands. How many people know data cubes? A few. So the concept with a data cube is it's not like a flat SQL table where it's just a list of columns and rows. You basically slice your data up and group it by a series of dimensions or categories. And a category may be like building name. And then you have a series of measures about quality or reliability that you want to look at. And then you can filter the data. So in the example here of like, an example is I want to give a list of poor calls. So that's my measure. I'm kind of measuring how many poor calls. And I want to see this data grouped by buildings. And I want to filter it by, this month or last month or whatever I have up on the slide. And that's an example of a filter. So you have dimensions, measures, and filters. And all of CQD, all of the reports, all of the views are built on top of this data cube. So it's kind of an important concept because when we go and look at some of the report building capabilities, I'm going to use these dimensions and measures to kind of look at a problem. So this slide has a lot of details, but I'm going to actually just, rather than telling you about CQD, I'm going to show you. Oh, it's that one? Oh, that helps. Thank you. So this is the Call Quality Dashboard. It's available for all tenants in Office 365 or Microsoft 365, available at cqd.link.com. We show 6 months of historical data as well as the current month's data. So you get up to 7 months of data. And even if you sign up, we collect this data continuously. So even if you've never used CQD, we've gone ahead and built these views for you, and they're just waiting for you to access. So if you've got 6 months of usage and you never use CQD, go ahead, turn it on, and you'll find that historical data there waiting for you. So this is the default summary report in the Call Quality Dashboard. And we have a couple of different views on this page. The first overall Call Quality tab is really focused on the audio streams and the overall quality of those. Every Skype for Business or Microsoft Teams call is composed of different audio streams. A typical conference call, every participant has 2 audio streams. every PSTN call, every user has 2 audio streams. In a point-to-point call, because our media goes direct, if I call Troy, there's only 2 streams, one to me, to Troy, and one Troy back. So audio streams are kind of one of the base fundamental units that you see in CQDs, because we look at each one of those network streams, those media paths, and compute measures and dimensions around that. So this first view shows kind of the overall trends. And for those of you, I remember a few of you who had your hands up who said you've used CQD before, you may not have seen this feature because it was just released this week, which is a product filter. This lets you select, do you see all your intelligent communication products, or do you only see Microsoft Teams or Skype for Business Online data? And the reason why we give an all category is because from a networking and a media flow perspective, the products are very similar. They use the same core media stack. A lot of the media processing is identical. So from a quality troubleshooting perspective, you may be able to look at all and get a good sense. Or you maybe I'm only running Teams, and then I'll just see Teams data. It takes it a second for the cube to pull the data, and now I see that same data is just filtered that way. So this is an example of a filter on that data that's filtering it just to Teams. I can then go back and look at my Skype for Business data. And the advantage of this is as users or customers switch or merge or evolve from Skype for Business and start using Teams or back and forth, you'll have all the data in one place. So you can see it in one set of tools. You don't need to go to a separate URL, don't need to go somewhere else to actually access the data. And while this one little Dropbox looks very simple, this is a very hard problem that we spent a long time solving, is to do this integration of data and solving this data integration issues from different architectures and merging it so you don't see that difference. So we're really proud of that feature. So looking in more detail at the summary reports, CQD and the call quality methodology that we prescribe is really analysis by segmentation and by separating out your call quality by different dimensions and different filters to gain insights. And one of the first meaningful pivots for Skype for Business Online and Microsoft Teams is slicing the data from whether the media streams are going between a client and a server and client to client. Client to server in Skype for Business Online and Microsoft Teams represents clients talking to our cloud, to the Microsoft cloud, for a meeting or for a conference. That's what's in that client to server bucket. So all those represent that connectivity, that network path across the internet that's connecting users to Skype for Business Online or Microsoft Teams. The client to client bucket is when 2 clients are talking to each other. The network path there is very different. Why? Because Skype for Business and Microsoft Teams in a chat or a one-to-one call will always go direct, if it can. So the network paths are very different. So that segmentation, by just doing that one segmentation, I've now segmented my problems. I now can only look at, okay, well, let's look at my issues on my connectivity to Microsoft's cloud and see how those are going. With that pivot, then we provide some tabs that allow you to then drill down further into the server to client bucket and identify this relative to where the client's located. So was the client on wired connection, or were they using Wi-Fi? Were they inside the corporate network, or were they outside the corporate network? And the reason why this is so important, and Troy mentioned this a little bit, is the troubleshooting steps and the investigations and boundaries and responsibilities are very different between who owns the network paths from inside or outside your corporate network. How does CQD do this? Well, I touched on it before, but it's one of the talking points, one of the takeaway points, so I'm going to talk on it again, is uploading the subnet data. So in this tenant data upload field, you have the ability to upload a CSV file or a TSV file that maps subnets to buildings. This is what CQD uses to identify if a customer or a user is making a call from inside your corporate network or outside. Without this data, I can't tell you where the user's calling from. They could be calling from Starbucks, or they could be calling from the CEO's office. I can't tell. We can't tell in the data. You're not going to get as much value out with this, from these tools without this data. So, hammer that point home. So let's go back and look at the server to client. So what we're looking here is real customer data. This is MSIT corporate data. So this isn't synthetic, this isn't fake, this is actually live, and I partner with our MSIT departments to help them troubleshoot and evolve the tools to help the call quality troubleshooting. So the first pivot is looking at this wired inside calling. And you can see here from a call quality perspective, each of these bars represents a stream, whether it was classified as good. In other words, all the network characteristics for audio indicated that, hey, this should have been a good call. We have an unclassified bucket. We have calls from time to time that don't have enough network telemetry to let us identify was it good or poor, right? We can't make it. We don't know. We don't see packet loss. We don't see jitter. We don't see enough data. So rather than hiding that and filtering that out, we just put it in this unclassified bucket. Generally, this bucket is very low. We see it high internally in Microsoft sometimes because of all our product development as we're building out new versions of clients. But we keep all the numbers correct. And then you have the poor. So we publish targets for network performance, and all of those streams that are classified as poor basically do not meet those audio network performance targets. And then we have the percentage. And you can see here in the MSIT data, our overall wired inside performance is relatively good. You know, we like to see this number below 1% is really good, 0.5% is really good, so I'm really happy to see this. And then summer happened, July happened, our network engineering team went off vacation. Something went wrong, right? I see a spike and then everything started to drop. And we got better, but we're still not quite back to the performance. So that's kind of an interesting thing. You can see it in this monthly trend. You can see the weekly trend's pretty stable for this month, so it's not, you know, there may be a downward trend there, but it's pretty minor. But this summary view then lets me take a look at this data sliced by subnet, right? And you can always slice it by subnet, whether or not you've uploaded the building data or not. But the next more interesting pivot for most issues is looking then first at the buildings. Most buildings are managed, are a collection of subnets. They're not just one subnet, they're sets of subnets. And they typically have common infrastructure where they connect that building to the campus and then the campus to the data center to the egress point. So that building is a very good logical construct for looking at the data. So if we take a look at this chart, for let's say these are a couple of Microsoft buildings. These show the breakdown of counts for the good, unclassified, and poor streams in a Spark chart. So each one of those columns represents a month. And you can hover over and actually see the quantity. And here's an interesting pattern. So you can see this first building, CPIDC, very flat, poor call percentage is pretty stable, right? We saw overall, there was that big spike, things were flat, things got really bad, things got flat again. Well, it didn't really happen in this particular site. This IDC site didn't really see an issue. But let's take a look at the next one on this list. So these tables are sortable. You can sort by good counts and unclassified counts and poor percentages. But I like poor count because I'm more interested in finding where are the worst streams, and the most number of worst streams, and maybe I can fix those. So we have SAMD here. And you can see volume-wise, it's been dropping a little bit, but typical summer maybe drop in volume. But you see this big spike in poor call counts, right? So if I go back and look, I can see, here I had like almost 7,000 poor streams, and then less volume, I have almost 7,800 poor streams. So I'm looking for 800-ish numbers of poor calls. And here I found about 300 of them all coming from this one location where things were really good, and then they got really bad at the SAMD site. So that's interesting. So maybe we look at that one a little bit more. So to look at it more, so there are more tabs here for client to client and voice quality, SLA, to see which calls are inbounds, but I'm kind of more interested in that particular problem. So let's go take a look at the location reports. So these are reports that we've shipped that basically are designed to focus down and drill down on a specific building or site to really understand kind of what's happening with that site. And what we've done is we basically built some dedicated views. Like here is the Wi-Fi dedicated view that's really focused on looking at the Wi-Fi network performance at a site, where we break the data down about band, radio type, we show what channels are being used, we show the data broken down by day of week and by hour. And this can be useful from a Wi-Fi troubleshooting perspective. But we typically want to start first with looking at the wired network and why. Typically, if your wired network is in bad shape, your Wi-Fi network is going to be in bad shape. That's kind of the foundation for your core network and your core routing. So we were looking at SAMD. And notice, it does have the product filter. So if I just wanted to look at Teams data, I could filter this report instantly to Teams data. We don't have vast volumes of Teams data at this location, so I'm going to just look at all, and just all the data I have, the better. And so I see the similar pattern that I saw in those Spark charts. I can see here the spike of poor call volume happening in July. So, it's the same view, maybe just slightly different. And now I start thinking, okay, well maybe, what are some ideas on why this could be? Well, maybe there's something happened at that site and everyone came in on one day and they had lots of bad calls on one specific day, but overall things are good. Well, I can look at my day of the week and my day of the month trend and say, well, they've had pretty poor call quality all month. Last month, this month, they got a little better right here at the end, but generally it's kind of consistent problem that they're seeing. Let's look at the hour date. If this was an issue with congestion at that site, like maybe that site doesn't have enough internet egress bandwidth and they're just flipping over, well, they're not flipping over at busy hour. Maybe they have a systemic problem around bandwidth to Microsoft 365, but it's not like they have a busy hour, so they're not right at that border. It may be a more systemic issue. Let's see, we take a look down at client versions. Again, this is Microsoft data, so we have more client versions than you can imagine. In this building alone, I have 179 versions in just the past 6.5 months. But if you look at these charts, they all show the same sort of flat pattern. Really good, and then things got bad. Really good, then things got bad. Doesn't feel like a client version issue, right? I look at the volumes, I don't really see anything. Okay, so I got a network issue. I've got it isolated to the building. What can I do then? Okay, well at this point, you've kind of hit the limit of what our summary reports are, and now you get to get into the data cube and really take a look going into the deeper into the data. And this is where the detailed reports tab comes in, and this basically has a report building interface onto that data cube. And you have an access to the 271 dimensions and 120 measures that we compute for quality and reliability. And this interface allows you to build your own custom charts and tables to look at the call quality and look at those dimensions. So as an example, if for this particular problem, I would start with saying, okay, well I know the building, so let's go ahead and add a filter for the building. Building name, and it was what, Sam D, I think? Oh, no underscore. So with Sam D, okay, so I have the building. But it was also wired. So let's do network connection. And you may be saying, William, you're going really fast through all these dimensions and measures. You know them so well. How can I ever learn them as well? Excellent, I'm glad you asked, Troy.
I always want to know.
So we have published online documentation of all of the dimensions and measures in the call quality dashboard. Not only that, but it provides guidance about all of the nomenclatures and terminologies and scenarios about kind of how to interpret the data. We provide examples of descriptions, what do blank values indicate, because we have a lot of blank values in the data set, and then some examples. So this is one tool that you have to get to learn more about CQD, and there are more, and I'll talk about those later.
It's easy nighttime reading.
All right, so going back to my report building. So it's SAMD, it was wired connections, and what do I want to look at? So remember, it was what data do I want to look at sliced by what? So dimensions is what I want to slice by. So let's slice by subnet, because a building may be multiple subnets. Let's take a look at all of the subnets in that building. And I want to look at audio pore stream count, which is like the number of pore streams, and sure, a bar chart's fine. And I want to look at audio pore percentage. And I want to make this a line chart, and scales don't match, so we'll do this on the right axis and we'll color it, I don't know, what color you like? Crimson. We'll do crimson today. I should get a preview of the report here on the side. And here I have a list of all the different subnets. I'm looking at the data just for 1 month. If I wanted it multiple months, I could see the trend. But I can convert this to a table, because this type of data, maybe with the number of subnets, maybe a table is a better view. And I can control the sort. So just here in the preview, I can see most of the pore streams are coming from this one particular subnet. But maybe pore stream isn't enough. Maybe I want also just how many total audio stream counts. And I can move it up a little bit in my report. And now I have a kind of total number of volume of streams, how many pore streams, and what was their percentage. So that's kind of good. Let's save that report. It's always good to title these, because if you do this enough, you get kind of forget which reports are what you're reviewing. SAMD wired. So let's just start there. I save it. So now I've got this table. of all these different subnets. But I'm now, in this particular presentation, the UI is getting a little squished. So normally you see a bit more of the table, but it's getting a little crunched on. But now I want to drill deeper, because now I know an interesting subnet, but now, okay, what else can I find out about it, right? So if I look at this data, I can see this one subnet has all the volume, it has all the poor streams. The other subnets in that building don't have much volume, but aren't really having that poor call quality, except for this one. This one's but 1 out of 46, maybe the volume's low enough, it's not important. So really I want to drill deeper in on this subnet. This subnet looks like it's got some challenges. So let's see what we can figure out. So rather than having to write a new report from scratch, I'm going to just clone that existing one and create a new custom report. So instead of looking at building, I just want to look at that subnet. So instead now I want to filter by that subnet. So I'm going to just find it. Oh, thank you. And I just want to search for that one. Now, we got a lot of subnets in this data cube, so it's going to take it a second or two to kind of do this filtering step. We're trying to optimize this step, but it still takes a while with this much data, so give it a second. So now I filtered all the calls in that subnet. I'm still going to look at wired calls. I could probably remove that because this network's probably wired only. So we already know the numbers. We already know the counts. But what else can I figure out? Well, a call can be classified as poor for a lot of different reasons. And there's various metrics that identify if the stream was classified as poor. And these are the corresponding dimensions that support that. You know, was it due to jitter? Was it due to round trip time? Was it due to packet loss? Degradation, which is kind of our network MOS computation. It's kind of, is it the MOS score that our model predicts is too degraded? And concealed ratio, which is kind of it's our favorite metric, but it's also one of the more complicated ones to understand. And we have targets for each of those. And let's think, we have stream count. So let's see what this looks like. Oh, that's not what I want at all, because now I've got this big table with all these dimensions, true, false, and I got to figure all that out. Well, that's no good. I don't want that. I don't want to slice by whether the stream was classified as good as poor. I actually want to see how many were in each bucket. So that's a measure. Oh, wait, I've got measures. So we have measures for those same counts. So instead of telling you true, false, whether it was classified as poor or bad, as a measure, it's giving you a count of the audio streams that were classified as good or poor, that met that requirement. So let's take a look at this one. Scroll, save. And if I was smart, I would have retitled it, but it's a demo. So here, I can see how many streams. So there were 5,738 streams. 109 of them, oh, there's one thing I want to add. Audio poor. Because I like keeping the audio poor in because it kind of helps me scale. Because you get a lot of numbers and you're kind of like, what's your baseline, what's your scale? And that's a good one to keep in. And I really don't need a table because I only have this one row because I just have the one subnet. But I've got these 5,700 audio streams, and I see 139 of those were marked as poor for this month. 109 were poor due to packet loss, 12 due to degradation, 3 due to round trip, and 125 due to concealed ratio. And Troy always looks at my data and always asks me questions. And he's like, wait, I have 125 plus 3 plus 12 plus 109. That's not 100. Doesn't add up. See, I knew you'd catch on. It doesn't add up. And the reason why is because a string can be classified as poor for multiple reasons. So this is not expected to add up. A call could be bad for each of those categories, and it would get that one stream would be classified as poor in each of those counts. So they're not expected to aggregate, but the orders of magnitude here give you an insight. You notice that it's high, the counts are obviously packet loss and concealed ratio. Concealed ratio is a measure of how hard our media processing is doing to conceal packet loss and jitter artifacts. So it correlates, it has a relationship to packet loss and jitter, but it's not directly measuring packet loss. It's really just measuring how hard we're trying to do to conceal, that's the conceal part in concealed ratio, of concealing that. So what I can see from here is I see, aha, well it's packet loss and concealed ratio. Okay, so maybe I'll just focus in on that packet loss because they're telling me kind of the same sort of, giving me kind of a similar insight. Well, I need to go talk to my networking team. Let's figure out, well, I can't tell them this and they're going to say, well, I don't have any network issues. My network's perfect. It's obviously a Skype for Business problem. That never happens, but let's hypothetically say it did. So now let's go take a look at, so now I know the subnet. I know I want to look at packet loss. So what do I want to know about packet loss? Well, the average packet loss on aggregate doesn't going to tell me anything. And the reason why it's not is because I've got 5,000 good streams and I've got hundreds of bad. So it kind of skews your data. So what I can do is I can take a look at, I can go back and take a look at a measure for all the streams that were filtered or group the data by all the streams that were tagged as poor due to packet loss. And it's a measurement. I want to know packet loss. So let's go look. And I've got packet loss rate. And I want to convert it to, oh, that's not what I want, because I don't want to just see my average for my bad calls. I want to group it more like a distribution chart. So I put packet loss as a dimension. One of the things we've done in CQD is taken all of those floating point values and bucketized them. And this enables you to use them as a dimension. And I really just want to count how many streams. And let's see, if I did my magic. Audio stream poor due to packet loss. Okay, so this is the start, right? So remember, we have lots of good streams. So this chart right now is showing me all these false are all my good streams with all my low packet loss, right? Packet loss is 0. 0 for all these streams. But I'm really interested in this bucket. I want to see those bad, I want to see those poor call streams. So maybe this isn't the best way to look at it. What I can do instead is then just add a filter and just say I want to look at just the ones that are due to packet loss. And then I don't need my dimension anymore. I don't need that dimension and I need that. And if I had known what I was doing, yeah, I would have not deleted the other one. I think it's audio, poor due to packet loss. No, I want packet loss. That's the one I want. Ah, okay, so now we're getting somewhere. So in this chart, let's see if it pulls up. What I've done is I've taken those buckets of packet loss and only looked at those streams marked as poor due to packet loss. And here I see for this building, in this current month, I have over 50 streams, 54 streams where the packet loss is greater than 10%. And then it gets worse, right? Here's 20% packet loss, here's 25, I've got streams. So this is the kind of data that I can go to my network administrator and say, hey, it's not just users complaining, I don't have a theory. I have data now that I've isolated to this subnet, and something's changed for this subnet back in July. Here's the data that shows the trend in packet loss that Skype for Business is seeing. Now, this may be a networking issue. That's always where I start when I think packet loss. But it may be a device driver issue. Like maybe that building has new devices that have new network drivers that make Skype for Business think it's a packet loss problem, but maybe it's not. But this is now I've got an insight. I've got something that has narrowed the problem space from all of my deployment. I have one very specific problem. I've quantified it. I know how many streams are affected. I get some sense of month over month kind of what that impact is. And now I've got data to help that next start of the investigation. Unfortunately, today with our tools, this is about the limit to where CQD can get you to. I can point you to where that problem is, and I can give you some information and validate some hypothesis. We know it's not a burst of packet loss. It didn't happen on one day. It happened on multiple days. It didn't just happen under busy hour. All that information from this little investigation over about the past 10, 15 minutes has narrowed down this kind of problem of users unhappy in that building to narrow it down. I've narrowed it down to a more specific set. And from there, there's more investigations, more things we could do. We could go look at the driver versions. We could go look for other buildings that have shown the same pattern to see. But this has now given me some actionable data to drive this investigation further. And in fact, you can see on that earlier On one of those early summary reports, you saw it dripping a little bit from the quality for this building was finally getting better. That's because I've reached out to the networking team, and they're investigating and looking through their change management to see what's happened. It may have gotten a cause, but they're not quite done yet. So that's an example of kind of us using this tool and how the call quality dashboard helps you look at issues not affecting one user, but in theory, this is 300 streams. That's 150 calls or 150 people joining meetings. And if I can get to the root cause of this, I fixed all their issues. And I didn't have to wait for them to call help desk and deal with each one of them one at a time. I've looked at their issues in bulk and solved their infrastructure issues or systemic issues more proactively. And that's the concepts behind Call Quality Dashboard. Thank you, Troy. So we're going to walk through, I'll skip through most of these slides because I talked over most of the points, but I just wanted to make sure I didn't forget anything. And for folks who maybe I went too fast, there's more detail in here. We've got the summary reports that we showed. I showed the detailed reports that allow you to access that data cube and access the 271 dimensions and 121. Oh, they're both ending in 1. 121 measure. We just added the team's dimension as a new one. So I keep forgetting my counts. And they focus on quality and reliability. All of the summary reports that I show and all the I showed were focused on audio. We do have telemetry. We do have data in here that supports both video, application sharing, and VBSS. We have two types of application sharing technology, so we support both the RDP-based and the VBSS-based. We have that data in the data cube. We haven't shipped any reports on that. That's something that's on our backlog to get to, but all that data is in the data cube, and people have put out custom report packs that kind of help look at that data and analyze it, so that data is available. We talked about how the data is both available for Skype for Business Online and Microsoft Teams. It's available, we host the data in region. So if you're a tenant hosted in EMEA, then we have a CQD instance serving you out of EMEA, so you don't have to worry about long data queries going across the ocean to access the data. And let me see, currently, one important thing to take away is currently CQD is accessible only by people have the Skype for Business tenant admin role assigned. This is something that's changing. We will expand this role access. We'll have something to share in the next, hopefully, few weeks about plans to expand that access to basically give people access to CQD without having to give them, tenant admin permissions. But this is kind of a current limitation. Raise of hands, who wants that? Just probably everyone who's used CQD? Yeah, okay, that's what I suspected. Yeah, we've been working hard on, thank you, okay. So it's coming, we understand there's been a new role announced in AAD that I think we're going to leverage for that, and we're just kind of buttoning up the plan on how we're going to do that. But that should be expected to come out soon. We talked about how to select which product to view. I didn't show it, but there's a dimension called Is Teams. And that's what that filter box, that product filter is leveraging. So if you build your own custom reports and you want to look at only Teams data, that is Teams data. You set it to true, you see Teams. You set it to false, you see Skype for Business. Because it's a dimension, you can set to true and false, and that would cover all. So you've got that capability if you're building your own custom reports. Talked about the location enhanced reports. Talked about subnet mapping, and again, without this data, all your calls are going to be marked as outside your network. So all that site backing, all this investigation that I did, you would look at it per subnet basis. But then you'd have to say, well, is that my subnet? Is it someone's home subnet? You lose a lot of data there. And it's possible you can get some value out of it, but if it were me, I know it's hard. Getting all the subnet mapping, site mapping, getting accurate information can be hard. You gotta do it to get the most value out of these tools. More data about the subnet mapping. So I talked a little bit about how to get smarter or how to learn more about CQD and how to use it. Because I went pretty fast here because I've been using CQD for a while. I showed you those dimensions, but there's another place to start, and that's the My Advisor. This was formerly Skype Operations Framework, and the content's being adjusted and repositioned. But we worked really hard to develop training guides and videos, not for me, right? So it's not a program manager saying, here's how you should use the tool. But we had this built by our people who are working closely with customers and actually using CQD to help solve their issues. So they're giving very practical, real-world guidance and examples of how to use CQD to solve real-world problems that we've had for call quality and reliability. So if you want to get started with CQD, I highly recommend starting at My Advisor. The videos and things are posted on YouTube, but there's more content and other meta information on My Advisor that can help you on your journey of using CQD to help your customers or help your end users in their quality experiences. Oh, I just did a demo. Okay, good. I'm ahead of schedule. So we're going to spend the last couple of minutes talking about data access and network assessment tool. So right now for Skype for Business Online, you have one access to get to the raw data. So Troy showed you all of the rich data you can see in Call Analytics under the Advanced tab. Right? You have some summary of bits of the data in the main pages, the key data, but then there's a lot of additional data that we collect. This PowerShell commandlet, the get CS user session, it's been out for a while. Right now, this is your only interface if you want to get access to that data like programmatically. In other words, you don't want to go through Call Analytics. I say you should go through Call Analytics, but there are scenarios where maybe you want to integrate this data with data from other systems, other solutions. You want to really get deep, or you've got a very specific set of problems that you're looking for, and maybe an API access would give you better value. This get CS user session commandlet is your only access to the data. Now, it is also only Skype for Business Online today. This PowerShell commandlet only gives you Skype for Business Online data. You will not find any Microsoft Teams data here. You will never see any Microsoft Teams data here. We're in the process of planning a new API to provide access to the call data so that you have interfaces to access the same data that you see in Call Analytics and the same sort of data that you see here. But that API is not ready yet, and we're not ready to kind of go into more details about it. But it is definitely something that we want to do and will do, and it is something that will support both Skype for Business Online and Microsoft Teams. Network assessment, one more tool that I own. I own many tools. So the network assessment tool. So when we started this journey to Skype for Business Online, we continually found customers whose internal networks were fine, but they were having problems with their egress to the Microsoft cloud. Getting to the through their firewalls out to the Microsoft network, they were either not correctly provisioned from like a firewall bandwidth or firewall policy perspective, insufficient bandwidth, low speed, poor performance. So what we've done, we basically decided that we published a set of network targets that said your connection from your network needs to meet these targets to have the best, have a high quality Skype for Business or Microsoft Teams experience. So we published the targets. We have a great set of partners who have built network assessment tools that help you assess against those targets. We've also provided our own simple to use command line tool that kind of does like a health check against those targets. And that tool is a command line tool. It doesn't have a fancy UI. You can see the screen. It's not something for your end users to run. But this gives you the ability, if I'm standing up a new site, to test that connectivity to Microsoft's network. The other piece, so it measures some networking things like packet loss and jitter and delay that your networking team are interested. Because if you're not meeting these on one simple call, that's a red flag that site's going to have issues. And maybe you want to do this before you give users Skype for Business or Microsoft Teams in that site. And now you'll have some data to have that conversation with network planning about, okay, we need to make this better, and here's some data that supports that. The other piece that's going to be added to this tool, it didn't quite get out yet, but it's out due in probably a week, maybe 2 weeks, in the not too distant future, is the tool at first can run for like measuring packet loss and jitter, but we've added the capability for it to test all of the IP connectivity to the addresses and ports needed for Microsoft Teams. So it'll check. Thank you. Thank you, I do appreciate it, because it's one of the classic problems that we've had is call setup failures because the clients can't connect, like the signaling goes through, but media paths can't get established to the Microsoft network. This verifies that connectivity, and it gives you a long list of, I got to this IP address and this port and this protocol, this IP address, this port, this protocol, and it will flag and identify if it can't make those connectivities. We'll collect feedback if there's additional enhancement which we want to make to it, but this one we're pretty proud of because we think it gives a self-service model for helping find a lot of those firewall config issues. We know Microsoft Teams, Skype for Business in particular, has a pretty wide IP address and port requirements. Yeah, smile, see, somebody knows. And this at least allows you to verify it. It gives you a simple way to test it. Like I said, a week or two type time frame. We're just wrapping up the release of that. If it slips to 3 weeks, don't send me a nasty email if you'd like, but it's coming soon, I promise. So in summary, talked about my 3 points. So what we're focused on, Troy and I live and breathe making sure that we offer the same call quality management tools for Skype for Business online as well as Microsoft Teams. You don't have to learn a new set of tools. You don't have to relearn CQD with a whole bunch of different dimensions. As I mentioned, I added one new dimension to support Microsoft Teams. That was the one that says is Teams. Other than that, all of the rest of that data is mapped over. And that took us a lot of work to map it, but for you won't see the difference. But we've merged all that data together on the back end. So you have one set of tools. It's the same reason why Troy will have Skype for Business Online and Microsoft Teams data in one set of tools, because we don't want you to have to deal with that complexity. As you have users in both and then one or the other, you don't have any of those problems. Call Analytics, help desk tool. Troy showed it to you. Showed you what was it, Mark?
Yep.
Yeah, why Mark was unhappy and how Call Analytics was going to be the tool that was going to make his day. And then the call quality dashboard. I showed you, this is a real example. I found this as getting set up for this demo a couple of weeks ago, so I found this issue in the data. So this is not synthetic. This is actually how we use it in Microsoft to solve it. We have a good track record of following this methodology for finding those real systemic issues affecting hundreds of users or thousands of users at a time. And the last point, say it one last time, Call Analytics and CQD really need your subnet to building mapping data. We have some plans that we're trying to make that an easier process, move away from TSV file upload, provide some other ways of getting that data to our cloud, and making it so that you don't have to share, basically give the file to both sets of tools, but they're not there yet. And I don't want you to wait for that improvement. If you can get access to this data and upload it, these tools are going to add a lot more value. Some useful links in the slide. I'm not going to share about these, but these are some links that we talked about in the deck. And now we're going to open the floor for Q&A.
All right.
And please,
head to the microphones. There's absolutely no way we can hear you.
Yes, please use the microphone. Otherwise,
we'll start in the back here because there's a couple people with questions.
Thank you. One of the tools we use in addition to this is we stumbled onto a link on the internet, fasttrack.network analysis, which graphically tests all of the open ports in our firewalls. Yeah. And it was fantastic at showing us that we were using fallback 80 and 443 a lot more than we thought, and we took that to the network admins. Is that tool going to be brought forward, supported, and brought out of the secret?
Yeah, we're working on, you can see we've started to build the pieces that evolve that in the new updates to the network assessment that checks all those connectivity paths. We haven't quite got a strategy yet on the replacement for that tool, but you can see we're definitely heading in a path where we don't like having two tools that do the same thing. So at some point there'll be some convergence, but there's nothing I can share at the moment. But I am familiar with that tool. I know its capabilities, and right now we're basically building the right capabilities in that network assessment tool that kind of does the same sort of thing.
And just hopefully any future tool won't be based on the Java client.
Well, yeah, that is one of the limitations of that. That's why I personally haven't run it on a machine in probably a year, 2 years, because I don't run Java for a variety of reasons. But yeah, the Java limitation, it needs to go. So it's on my replacement plan, but I don't have any details I can share.
Thank you.
Cool. Good question.
Hi. So question was in CQD, the data that comes up about 3 days later. Is there any?
It's an excellent question. So the question was, CQD comes kind of late sometimes. So yeah, unlike Call Analytics, CQD right now, data can come anywhere from 24 to 48 hours late. If all our data processing went well, that's when it happens. On occasion, we have some data pipeline issues where the data comes a little bit slower. We have plans to make that better. We, as part of this migration of infrastructure for Microsoft Teams and Skype for Business, kind of the stuff that we're doing on the back end, we've got some strategies on how we're going to tackle it. It's not going to come soon. I want to get us down under 12 hours because there's scenarios where users are troubleshooting their network, they make a change. You don't want to wait 3 days to find out if that change happened. right? So I got to be consistently in the 12 hours. I'm thinking hours for aggregate data, but if you've got a scenario where you really want real time, grab me after the session and we can chat and I can understand your scenario. But yeah, I totally understand the ask and we will get there, but it's not coming soon, like this month or anything. So.
How about over here?
Yep, cool, thank you. Oops.
Oh.
Is it on?
All right, maybe try a different microphone. We'll go here in the interim. In the middle.
Hello?
Oh, sure,
Yep.
yeah. My question was, we talked a lot about call quality, and
Yep.
do these tools do anything with video? And my second question was, will Teams be using the same codecs as Skype, or will they be using different ones?
Okay. So in the call quality dashboard, the underlying data, the data cube, has video application sharing, has all of that data in there. We don't ship any, currently don't ship any summary reports, so you have to kind of build your own reports and that detailed reviews. And that's just a function of time. We will get to providing those reports, but they're just not there yet. But it's in the data, so you have access to the data.
Call analytics, I didn't show it, but we actually do show for video, we will show the quality ratings that we receive, as well as some of the devices used. We don't have a rating for that, so we don't make a verdict that it was a poor or good. We just have the information available. But that's definitely something that we want to work on improving.
And then your second question was around codecs. So Skype for Business Online and Microsoft Teams clients share the same media stack. They have very similar codec capabilities. Depending upon your scenarios, there are some codec changes, like the use of Silk is more heavily used in Teams. I don't have any slides about the specifics, but it's basically the same core set of codecs that you're seeing in Skype for Business, but they don't support, Teams doesn't natively try to make RT audio calls, for example. It'll use Silk. And I think conferencing, it may be using Silk instead of G722. There's a very heavy bias on Silk because that's kind of our premier audio codec, and Teams is built from the ground up for those kind of experiences. And video, don't quote, well, I shouldn't say anything if I say don't quote.
Yeah, there you go.
But video technologies are very similar.
Okay, thanks.
In the back.
Yes, the question is about, I know most of the CQD and call quality and analytics are based on the online products. Are there plans to bring any of that to the on-prem? There's currently an on-prem CQD.
Yep.
There's also the QoEs.
Yep, the monitoring server reports. Yep.
There was a session earlier today about this next version of server. And
Right.
part of that functionality will be that you'll be able to pump your data to the cloud and use these tools.
So you're saying you have to put your data in the cloud to do
To
the
use
analytics?
these tools, you'll have to put your data into the cloud, yes.
Is it working?
Okay, why don't you come to another
Yeah.
microphone?
Hello.
Go ahead.
How about over here?
I'll take the audio guy in the back. We'll figure things out.
Okay, go ahead.
All right.
Why don't you come on
So
over? Go ahead.
one of the most challenging, it's about QoS marking
Uh-huh.
on the network. So you guys are planning something about to capture the user tagging on the analytics one?
We don't currently capture QoS markings. We have, and one of the limitations is around the underlying platform support. Windows up before the most recent release didn't allow a way for an application like Teams or Skype for Business to get an access to that QoS marking without installing a network driver, which is like if you run like Wireshark or something and you can see it, they're installing a network driver and that's how they get access to the data. It requires admin rights. We don't, Skype for Business doesn't, or Teams doesn't require admin rights, so we don't have access to that bit. We've been working with the Windows team. They've added some additional APIs that we want to leverage to measure the received, what the markings we receive are. And that's just a roadmap plan about when we can integrate that into our technology. But it'll only be supported on the latest versions of Windows. And that's the best we can do at this point because we're kind of stuck between admin rights for installing the application and running the application versus measuring the quality. We can't fix it. So we're just going to rely on Windows, fix, and then have some updated clients. But that's not released yet. But it is something we want to do because from a management perspective, it's great if you can measure that QoS of the packets being received. We have partners who provide solutions that help you in that space, but we want to embed it in the clients to kind of build those sensors everywhere to kind of gauge if the marking's falling off.
All right, another one, quick one. So you mentioned that we have right now CQD on-prem
Yes.
for 2015 version.
Yeah.
What's basically the difference?
So there's
between them?
online there's a I don't remember the website, but there's a table that lists the kind of breaks out the difference. High differences that come to mind. CQD on premise has audio only, doesn't have video, doesn't have application sharing, does not have reliability data. So it doesn't say whether the call set. It only is basically for successfully established calls. What was the media audio experience? Other key features is it doesn't have those summary reports. All those summary reports I showed aren't there, but it looks a lot like those detailed reports. That looks exactly like CQD 1.0 that's on premise. It doesn't have a web uploader for the subnet mapping data. You have to do like a SQL. You have to put this information in a SQL table, and on CQD on premise you can't export someone else's report and import it. I didn't show that feature here, but CQD Online is this feature where I can save my report as a package and give it to somebody else and they can install it. That capability doesn't exist on premise. And as Troy mentioned in our vNext, we're talking about how do we connect that so that you can leverage all those great advances in CQD and in Skype for Business Online and Microsoft Teams for your on-premise product. But those are the limitations. And you can grab me after. We can look. There's an online link that has a table that lists out those differences.
All right, thank you guys.
How about in the back?
I think you can hear. Can you hear me now? Yeah.
Yep.
One follow-up question similar to what you were talking about. So we have a hybrid environment where our users are all in the cloud,
Yep.
but our PSTN and SIP trunks are local, on-prem.
Yep.
So would the all in-network stuff be available in the CQD and Call Analytics Online? And can we still use the on-prem CQD?
Your PSTN, so you're running like CCE, or do you have a full on-premise deployment?
We are basically migrating to move all our users to the cloud.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then the only on-prem piece will be the SIP trunks?
Yeah, so we should be grabbing all of that telemetry as part of the online, part of that online connection. So that way you'd be able to leverage the online tools for that piece.
And
Call analytics will show up, and we'll actually get the information through CCE.
Yeah. Cool, thank you.
In the front.
Hi, yeah, CQD with the building data upload is great, but we've got some scenarios where we've got overlapping subnets or home users on 192.168, and that skews all the data. Is there any plans to sort of merge maybe the public IP or anything like that?
Yeah, we've got solutions underway to help address that. To basically looking at that public IP and how the information routes to us to address that specific problem about. If you're using 192 in your enterprise and everyone uses 192 at home, just about, yeah, you run into that conflict. Totally understand it. We want to fix that by looking at where the internet egress traffic IP address and using that to bucketize the data. We've got plans to do it. I don't have any schedule at this moment. It's part of our plan of trying to make this data easier and more actionable, that subnet data, and make it easier to upload it to it. Totally understand that problem. We've also run into problems with subnet spanning buildings. There's a class of problems that we have in this area where we can do better, and totally understand it, totally aware of it. We will fix it.
No,
but
sure, thank you.
I can't.
In the back.
I have two questions. So the first question I have is regarding the call analytics dashboard.
Yep.
So in the dashboard, the audio quality, or whenever we are viewing it, it doesn't work. It doesn't show when there's a content is being shared. So it even it just grays out even the audio or the video. So is there anything coming in the future so that could be addressed?
It grays out the audio and video.
Yeah. So let's say there's a Skype for Business meeting.
Yep.
And you are sharing content.
Uh-huh.
And when you go to analytics to check what happened, it actually is just grayed out saying that not available. And I've seen that on various cases.
So not available means that we didn't receive the QE information. And so, excuse me, the product's still in preview. So there's been some changes that we've done under the hood to update the classification of determining whether the call was good, bad, the underlying mechanics of that. And so in some instances, you'll see that it says not available. In other instances, when there is no information there at all, it means that we didn't receive the quality information from the client itself. And the most common situation for that is a call drop, where the client didn't have an opportunity to upload the quality information to us before the call terminated, or at the conclusion of the call. And so those are the scenarios. But if you're seeing something specific, feel free. There's a feedback button on the console, or you can reach me afterwards. Happy to talk about any issues that you might have. What was the second question?
The second question I had was regarding I guess again it's like we have like a huge Skype for Business conference call. It comes out to that whenever we see and we identify that, it shows us the issue is with Skype service to the user to Skype service. So what are your suggestions on how to investigate that further and take it to the network team? So because it's more of the connectivity issue between the user and Microsoft service or Skype service.
No. Right.
So what are your suggestions there?
So there's a number of things you could do. William, I'm sure you can probably tackle this too. I'll defer to you a little bit here, but part of what you want to do is take a look at where, like, all of the context of the call, what that user was doing. And so we have workflows that we'll be releasing when we go to general availability that'll kind of cover some of this material. But some of the items that we just discussed, are they on a corporate network? Are they not on a corporate network? At some point, depending on the investigation and if it's a perpetual issue, you would actually probably go into CQD and do the kind of analysis William showed you today. And so that's where these tools actually, call analytics is like a signal flare for potentially a systemic issue. And so that's where these tools work really well together. They're the same coin, they're just different sides of the coin. And so you would start leveraging both.
All right, thanks.
Hello, yes. So I'm in an organization that's in a hybrid mode right now. We have several thousand external work from home users. And I love the analytics and call quality dashboard, but it seems to me like I'm unable to work with those work from home users or figure out where there are issues, such as with their headset or with their internet connection, because I can look at all of those users as one group and see that 3% of their calls are failing or at poor status, but I can't say, oh, this subset, we need to reach out to them, get them new headsets, we need to get them to contact their ISP.
We agree, and that's absolutely the direction we're going.
Okay, cool.
And so call analytics is an asset that we're building, which has 30 days of detailed call information for every user, with all of the information, right, down to the level of degree that we just saw. And so being able to build on that and being able to identify specific subsets of groups to do user education is exactly the kind of direction we're going longer.
And you identified exactly one of the challenges with CQD. It doesn't have any of the users' information in it. So you find an issue impacting these number of streams. You want to know who you want to talk to. Who are they? We're bridging that gap. And we want to bridge that gap so that you have access to all that information, and you can seamlessly look at, you slice the data, and now here are the users impacted. And the reason why we don't have the data is holding 7 months of data, sliced by all those dimensions, including users, and users instantly blows your data cube out of the water for that much data. So it's not that we don't need to solve it, it's just we haven't quite got it. Now that Call Analytics has got this 30 days of rich data, we can start bridging those connections together, and you'll see it.
We are out of time, but I know William and I we'll be happy to stay and answer questions one-on-one afterwards. Thank you so much for attending.